Can I say another one?
Yo, I want to talk to y'all about something. I'm talking to you niggas about niggas being fucking cowards and shit. Now I know a lot of gangster niggas be like, fuck you talking about?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we can't
You
tell
heard me,
nigga.
nigga. You
They're
heard
not
me.
the niggas oppressing us.
Right,
So I say, man, the guns.
right. And the guns, nigga. Let's go.
All right, y'all. What's good? Welcome to the Father, the Son, and the Trolley Ghost. I'm your host, Heru. Tell them who you are.
What's going on? What's going on? It's not chilling.
Nyriq. That's my son right there. And so we doing this podcast, Father, the Son, Trolley Ghost. Trolley
Trolley,
Ghost.
trolley
Cause I,
ghosts.
cause I like to troll you niggas with the truth, okay? So to get some background, man, Nyriq is my son, my oldest son, and our story is I didn't get to be there when he was growing up for a variety of reasons that we'll get into. But short version is I got locked up, and in that experience, that impacted everything and everyone around me, and so you know, with this scenario is very common amongst us. Not the fathers not being able to raise their sons, and so the thing that's unique about our story is that upon my release from prison, I sought Nyriq out, and because it was important to me, and I was able to reestablish a relationship, and we were able to reestablish a pretty decent one, I would say. What would you say?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say it was a shaky start, but you know, as long as I think it should be like that for most people. But as long as you keep it open heart, which is what I had. I never had no animosity, so it was pretty easy to get the familiarity going. You know,
Yeah,
I think we just had to for me at least, had to get over the stereotypical trope on nigga just bounce.
hmm
So we got past that, and we've been working, and I say we tighten it.
that's what's up, and that part is to be expected because most of us only get one side of the story. I know it was like that for me and my pops, and so that open heart part is very important. And I would say that to a lot of kids and adults. Like, if you didn't hear your father, if you don't know of your father firsthand, don't make assumptions because I know I did, and this is me not talking as a father. This is me talking as a son myself. So make that clear because that's what helped me even be able to get my father's part of the story. And honestly, your father's side of the story is very important for you to understand life. Where it's born, whether you were a girl child or a man child, you need your father is part of you, so his perspective matters. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, a lot of the times it's not exactly what you think it is or what you've been allowed to believe or even told.
Come on, it's a lot of fabrication going on.
Yeah, a whole lot of it. And a lot of it just be that people don't be being real with themselves. But so to get into some of the background, you know what I'm saying? I met Nariq's mother when we were both very young, like probably late teens. And so, from my own perspective, you know, I was too young to know what I was really losing when this whole thing happened. But not too young to have a clue that it was important, and enough of a clue to for it to stick with me long enough for me to come back around and make the connection even after all of this time. So, a lot of the things that stop us from being able to be there, yeah, you know, life is full of choices, right? But some choices are so difficult to make that your average person can't be expected to make the decision that everybody or that you whoever you are might agree with. I'll just say it like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because everybody got different opinions about shit, but with the situation with Nyriq, I kind of don't blame your mother or me for how that thing happened. I was young. I didn't have a lot of resources. She was young, and her mother was sickly, and I was living in Raleigh. She was living in Raleigh, and her mother got really sick, and they needed to move to Charlotte. And I don't know if I was a young lady betting my life on something. I'm gonna bet on my mama
Yep. Yep.
more than a young, I'm an unestablished kid that you happen to let knock you up for whatever reason. So, I really at that just that point and that decision, I don't even blame your mom for how things worked out, but the shit worked out how it worked out. Her moving to Charlotte, she might as well move to another planet for me at that at that point in my development. Like I ain't have the resources, or I just wasn't ready for that to be able to do the long distance and be able to and all of that. And then the only thing I do blame her for though with that situation was she for some reason didn't she left before you were born, right? And so for some reason she didn't contact me until you were like 2 and let me know, like, give me an address, a number, just any way of contacting you. So that kind of put some distance between us. But I just say that for the people to understand the origin of the story. And here I want to kind of open the floor for you to kind of talk about your experience
In the passing of
without me. You know what I'm
without you.
saying?
Yeah. Well, it's weird because it's funny, sitting back and reflecting after getting both sides of my opinion, you see you see a lot of things that was not said to keep people's character. You know what I'm saying? And like for example, like you said, you never got notified about my existence until I was 2. I wasn't notified of your existence per se until I was about 16. So, you know, and there was even I
And
remember,
notification is very important.
yeah, like I grew up a long chunk of my life thinking that I was someone else's son, but like even then I was able to like feel it wasn't something wasn't right or something. There was just no connection with the guy, the stepdad that I had at the time. So
If I could, that part when you told me, because you told me that before, and I just want to say that part was very interesting for me because um I don't know, I guess it was interesting to me because it's almost like one of those small proofs that energy be real.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And it's like I don't think a lot of women think about the fact that like energy be real. Like kids and men ain't Pokemon cards, and you can't
You don't just
mix.
swap them.
Right? Yeah, they're not trading cards. Like you can't do that. Like that shit. Yeah. So I just wanted to break in with that, but
Yeah, that I mean that's it. And it was just a pretty dysfunctional ride altogether. You know what I'm saying? Uh, Going through everything. Now I no longer speak to my closest sister. I would say the one that I grew up with. It's a whole lot going on with that. Being that the guy that was introduced into our lives. Um, and side note, she's also not she's my sister relation through my mom, but she has another another guy, another a different father. So and we both wasn't notified of this till around the same age. It's crazy. So we're
wow.
going through these we're going through what about 14 or 15 years of just you know believing this guy's our dad, kissing him, all type of just and then
Wow.
the abuse was always or what was supposed to be discipline was always leaned more towards the abusive side, onto the abusive basically, yeah, we may have did wrong, but it didn't require that extensive use of, force.
Hmm.
But yeah, I feel like going through that it really created a lot of dysfunction and misunderstanding in who I was. I would feel the same for my sister. Um, the guy was pretty much a dirtbag. I mean, you get to pull and let if you're someone who can learn from shit, you can learn from that situation. But
You can
you
learn
can
from
pull
anything.
yeah, you can pull
Right.
some jewels out of that way of life, and but overall it wasn't the
It was.
worst. I'll say it was never as far as not the worst. You know, just about I would say any lower middle class black dysfunction. You know what I'm saying? Strange children with the single mom lackeys up with another random dude where a bunch of unsuspecting shit starts happening to the children. You know,
Uh,
that type of
right.
scenario. Come to
Yeah.
find out, people get touched on, and you know, just leads to a whole
Yeah.
bunch of. It's like the Pandora's box. You know,
And that shit, it can get ugly. You know what I'm saying? That shit, you know, I try to with with one of the things that I'm big on with how I think about these things is that it's, these ladies don't think about how the house that the kids are born into, like you and her, that's your house. You know what I'm saying? And when that shit breaks, the security of the children break. Regardless of whether they're with the mother or the father, but honestly, they at more risk being with just the mother because mothers don't occupy dominant positions in relationships generally.
just
it's the
that
men.
simple.
It's the men that do. So that leaves the kids exposed. So you
And then
know,
when you got addictions and people not being responsible, so now you got moving from place to place, you know,
instability in general. You know what I mean?
instability all the way around.
So, you know, while you were going through all of that, your mother had moved to Charlotte, I was still in Raleigh trying to figure life out. Again, I was like late teens when you came along and this happened, and you know I got into selling weed and shit when I was young, a little younger than you, and you know I got shit, the usual story, you know what I'm saying? But mine got a little extreme. It was around 9/11. I got a case for having a rifle and a quarter pound of weed, and
Mm.
it went federal because of the politics of the time. So I got a lot of time. I got like 12 years. And so with that situation, that was a whole story on its own, and we'll focus on that in another episode. But, I went through that. I had another son, your brother, i- in between the time that you came along and that prison sentence.
Okay.
And with him, his mom was a little more just committed to being around, so I got to at least be there for his first year of life, and then the bullshit happened again. And this was a big trauma for me, to be honest, because you had already gone, and even though I say I wasn't old enough to know what I lost, that's not all the way true because I knew that I didn't want that to happen. You
Right.
understand what I'm saying?
Right.
I knew that I wanted, because again, when you don't get your father's side of the story right, you get this little stupid thing in your head like, I'm going to be a better father than my father was. I'm going to be a better daddy than my daddy was. Not
Yep.
knowing what the fuck your father was really about or what the fuck the conflict was about that made the relationship break and made him not be there,
Yep.
right? So I had that shit in my head, and when that shit happened, when your brother Jay came, that shit was like it literally made me go on the run. You know what I'm saying? Because that was really a big reason why I decided to run from the feds for a while. Cause I had a federal case. Because
Mm.
I'm like, yo, this was what I was doing. And if y'all gonna take this shit away from me, then I could. Y'all gonna have to do your job. It's gonna get taken from me either way. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? So
Mm. Yeah.
I'll do it voluntarily and just leave. And y'all niggas gotta do your job and catch me. So that was my mentality. Um, and so I did that time, and because I didn't get to really be there when to have that experience of being there when you was born and all of that, it was kind of far from my mind. But the idea of my kids was looming large in my head in general. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? And so when I got out, the first one of the first things I did was contact your mother and
Mm.
try to figure out what was up with you. And so this part was very interesting for me because, when I first got in contact with her and I started inquiring about you and wanting to get in touch with you, she kind of put the wall up. She was like, you know, I think she might have even said this, but because of his experience with other dudes and in our life, in our time together, he ain't really trying to meet no new dudes. He said this. I think she told me you said something like that. Like, yeah, if you ever meet my father, if my father ever pops up, yeah, I'm good on all
What
that,
what
right?
what year was it that you do you remember the year it was that you reached out?
Not exactly, but I got out in 2017, so it would have been in 2017 or 2018 because it was like one of the first things that I really
Oh,
wanted to get
wait, wait,
tapped.
wait, wait, wait. You got out in 2017?
Yeah, like May 2017. That's when I got out.
Wow, yeah, I graduated in 2016, so that means throughout my whole school year, you were serving
Yeah.
time. Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, definitely by then, because she wasn't quite the picker of guys. I mean, um, live most of my time with um, Derek, this guy, and after that, and the super crazy situation broke out. We had to leave from there, and we just hold on. We lived with her friend, Miss Mary, as I called her. Um, Something happened there.
Something happened.
Okay, well, since the something was about me, but I didn't do it though. Well, no, I didn't. I didn't do it. So look, it was sorta. I sorta didn't do it. How about that? All right. So this is around the
How you
time
sorta
like
didn't do some shit?
because it's a bit of a longer story. So it's this guy. It's the male of my mom's friend. So it's her boyfriend, Miss Mary's boyfriend.
uh,
Right. They be smoking weed, whatever. I'm young, can't get my own weed or whatever, but they be having roaches. Sometimes I'll grab a roach or two or three out the ashtray, and out they don't really, thinking they don't
uh,
really notice or whatever. Um, I guess dude did notice. He was keeping tally, as a matter of
it's
fact.
like, where is my roaches? Why I ain't never got no roaches when I come in this bitch?
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember right. If I remember right, I believe he had went into my. I went to check my bag one time, and I was missing some condoms, and I think,
Mm,
and maybe some weed. No. It was just condoms. I was missing some condoms. I had
mm.
told my mom that. She's like, hmm, you know, I didn't even know you had them in that bag, and also, uh, you know, it's only two guys here, which is you and her boyfriend. So I guess she ends up relaying the message to Miss Mary. Miss Mary relays the message to him, and he like, nah, I ain't do that, blah blah blah, explains.
You done caused some drama now.
He
Miss
Well, I
Mary, like,
was
what
just
you stealing condoms for? We don't
well,
even use condoms.
we don't even use condoms, but from what my mom said, he was always he wasn't a good dude, so to speak. I don't know, but
I don't know. Ain't no good dude
ain't
these
no dude good nowadays. So I don't know, But
days.
um, what happened? So final stretch, because nothing really happens after that comes out. It's more so when something about his weed go missing. Somebody done got him some white rhino. Now this is later in the cycle where I think I got a job, or I'm making my own little couple dollars, so I got my own weed or whatever. And yeah, he accused me of stealing his weed. He was so sure that I did it. So we just was, Miss Mary. She said we had to go because that was her man. Whatever.
Uh,
She's
and that
not
was
with the
that.
guy no more.
Of
Still
course.
friends with my mom. Still friends with my mom though. So I don't know
You
if that was
see,
a
you see the foolishness.
don't really know if that was a good choice. Should have just kicked him out or something. I don't know. But anyway,
Could have
yeah.
kicked him out, or she could have kept him. Like, it's like motherfuckers don't be making no choice about what they really about. It's like bitch get a man and try to pretend like she a wife, but she really more loyal to her girlfriends and shit. So why you even trip on your girlfriends? It's like this is shit that be confusing shit. You know what I'm
It be
saying? Like,
yeah, and it did. It made, from what I understood, my mom didn't really like that. Their relationship fell off a
yeah,
little
they
bit after that,
suffered for that, right? Like,
just for it
you
to
can't keep
rekindle.
you can't keep flip flopping sides. Like, if you ride it with your man, then ride all the way. Like, what did that nigga do for you to even break up with him after you done kicked a whole family out your house for this nigga? Like,
Yep,
get out of
exactly.
here, yo. Like,
I can't really testify what it was, but it probably might have been something like cheating.
Oh, it's always cheating. Bitch always worry about where a nigga dick is. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, that's not the biggest thing
That's not the biggest
to
thing
be
when, yeah,
worried about. But motherfuckers got we got planned the episode to deal with more of that type of shit. But yeah,
right.
man, yeah, you know what I'm saying. So
So
that
yeah,
instability.
instability, going through that, got kicked out of there. She met this guy living over there while we was living with Miss Mary. She ends up meeting the guy around that time. We end up shacking it up with his spot. So we went from her spot to his spot. Name Montel, good dude. I'm actually still in contact with him. Real good dude. He's a Mason and stuff like that. Um,
Good.
if I was to say, he actually would be considered the best choice out of all the guys that she had. He helped elevate her, helped break certain habits of hers. Um,
Mhm.
you know, pretty straightforward dude, but they're no longer together. Didn't work out, so that's that. It's a crazy little situation because in between, shortly right after meeting Mr. Montel, she also meets the birth father of my closest sister, which is the second youngest. I'm the first oldest. She, second oldest. My
You
bad.
said she
Tripping.
meets him.
She meets him
Oh, oh,
yeah,
so
like
she wasn't born yet.
yeah, like Savon,
Oh,
yeah, never even. So
oh,
but my mother meets him in like the
and around the
store.
same
They
time.
rekindle. We leave Montel to go to him. That doesn't work out. Just to make the story shorter. Rest in peace, that man. Um, we
Shit.
left from him. Now at this point, I'm reaching into my my what 10th grade. You know what I'm saying?
So how close is your older
Ninth grade,
sister?
moving into freshman year. So kind of getting tired of the shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
We
exactly.
finally move into this one spot around my 12th, 10th grade year. Um, good people. Appreciate them for taking us in because they was basically total strangers. It was people that we would hang out at their house all day. Me and my sister. They ended up taking us in. Finished up school. Got up out of there. You know what I'm saying? Got a job. You know, got on my own feet. Got tired of the back and forth. Ever since I was about 15, that was just the goal. As soon as I became 15, I was like, I gotta get on my own stuff because it's not working here.
Mm,
You know.
that's that's
So
unfortunate.
all the back and forth, the different dudes. She had a situation with Nate, abusive situation. All of witnessing all of that type of shit definitely put a off putting towards you know older
Right.
guys.
In general, right?
Yeah, in general.
And that's the thing because you know what I started to get from my experience is that as a child, your father is your first source of authority. And so if you don't aren't allowed to build some type of relationship with this motherfucker, then you lose respect for all authority. Because what the fuck is authority if it's not older men? You know what I'm saying?
What is
um,
authority if not older men? Right.
right. I mean, we've been programmed in this last couple generations, including mine, to look at authority as women. Like when it comes to authority in a household, when it comes to authority in the community. But we got to start asking ourselves: Is that really true authority? Like, Does a child see a mother as authority when they first come out? No, this is a natural thing. They see that as nurturing, where I come through for comfort, but where I get my discipline from and shit. Like kids automatically, naturally is looking to a father for that, and that motherfucker's not there. So,
Yep.
and and in our situation again, this is not again, like I said, for how the things played out in our particular situation, and trust me, I am not a soft judge of women. So it's just how shit played out in our situation. I don't really blame your mom in that particular scenario. So this is not a criticism of her, but it is a wider perspective of and the criticism, yes, of how women are thinking in general. Like, yeah, like fathers are a little more important than y'all are giving them the weight for. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, and better yet, finding someone who's suitable to be a father. Like that is even more crucial because these women lay up with men and have these children, and then they go quick to find another nigga, and that nigga don't care about your kids, man. Like,
it don't. It don't. And
and
here's the thing. To speak to what you getting on, like, and just to course correct, in my opinion, anyway, because this part is where again, going back to what we said in the beginning, like, niggas and our kids, we not Pokemon cards. So it's not about finding a suitable. It is about finding a suitable father before you lay down with a nigga, right?
before, right? Exactly.
Before you lay down with a nigga. But
Yep.
once you have a nigga's baby, that's his baby.
Hmm.
and so let me just put this anecdote in here to kind of get the point across for those who are, really judgmental and hard headed. You know, I saw a video of this man, and he was talking about he was married to a lady, and they divorced because she felt like he was hard on his boys. They had two boys together, and he was like, "Yeah, I used to, and he admitted it. He was like hard on them niggas. He would drag them. You know what I'm saying? Whoop their ass a little bit, like harshly. And so she, got tired. And this is an interesting thing because I'm gonna have to couple it with a personal anecdote. But he was like, "Yo, I told her, yo, I know the men in my line, in my bloodline." That's what he said. He said to her, he said, "I know the niggas of my bloodline. We hard headed. We need that. And if you do this, you're gonna regret it." She did it anyway, of course. He went about his business. Years later, them kids is wilding out. They in the streets. I don't know if he said that they got locked up or anything. They either got locked up or killed, one of the two, or some combination, right? And he's like, "This is what I was trying to tell her. Like, I needed to do, I needed to be there doing what I was doing." So, what that said to me, um, and motherfuckers can debate this all day, but again, energy is a real thing, and I can equate. I can equate this to an experience of my own. Is that you know a nigga and his kids got this connection that like just like a woman and her child has a connection that a man is an outsider to, a man and his kids got a connection that you are outside to and you don't even know it because it's a spiritual connection. It's not easily seen. This nigga knows his bloodline. That's his DNA in there. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? So to connect it with my personal anecdote, my father, your grandfather, was a thinking ass nigga. Like he was a thinker. Like he was intelligent, and I got that intelligence, and you got that intelligence. So Ooh, I'm not saying that just to be egotistical. What I'm saying is that my mother, I had a stepfather.
Mm-hmm.
My father didn't get to be around, and just for the sake of letting everything be known, at the age of 42, I'm 46 now. At the age of 42, I finally got to know his side of the story, and it wasn't what I thought it was. So I'm gonna just start with that, and I'm gonna say he wasn't around, and my mom, I spent a good amount of my childhood with one of her dudes who she actually married, and I got a brother from after I was 14 and shit. So he's around for a minute, and his disciplinary style was probably different. It was probably harsher than I needed because I was a reasoning kid. You know what I'm saying? Like you could talk to me and I could kind of get what you were saying. Not every kid is like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I could tell when I really got to know my father that this was probably the style of discipline and authority that suited me. But let me say for the record that I don't not appreciate my father. The Most High works in mysterious ways and he works everything out. And, he was tougher, but he was probably what I needed for the life that I was about to, the journey that I was about to undertake.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Being that you wasn't
Un-
with the right father, you know what I'm saying?
exactly.
Because
Under the
paths change.
circumstances.
Yep.
Exactly. Under the
Paths change.
circumstances. Because you're dealing with imperfect circumstances. Okay, you gotta deal with imperfect solutions to shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, you
Yep.
know what I mean? I understand the Most High style, and it's like, okay, so I don't not appreciate my stepfather, but I did see that. You know what I'm saying? And so I kind of feel the same way, even though what you've told me about dude that was around and all of that, you know, I kind of feel the same way about him when I hear about that. Like, yeah, it offends me to know that he was abusive, but at that same time, he was there when I couldn't be there, and at
Yeah.
least
I
you
mean,
got
he was
some
he was
masculine energy.
he was more there for the most part. I mean, there, where niggas fall short is their habits for the most part.
Hmm.
Their habits. And as I get older or was getting older and observing, he's obviously conscious of that. So that becomes something in the back of his head. And, niggas start not making ends, not holding up what they project their image to be. So things gotta be compensated with other measures. So that's really probably all we was going through was a nigga and his demons. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Because
because
at heart, he probably, if condition was the best, he could be a good nigga. But that's the thing that separates us. So
okay. Yeah, because when you get to the point, when you go from being a boy to a man and you really get into this shit, you know, you realize the motherfucker be dealing with a lot. He trying to deal with his own shit,
hmm
which is way plenty enough to be on your plate, but then trying to deal with a family, kids, this
kids
woman.
that ain't his,
You know what I'm saying?
relationship ain't what he wanted. It's a whole lot. It's a whole lot.
Right.
Already
I got to
niggas got
see my stepfather's side of the story a little more when I got older too. Like I I remember, my mom was an old fancy lady and shit. She was a doctor and shit. So he a CO. CO is in New York, made good money. He worked in the Brooklyn house. You know what I'm saying? But trying to keep up with her and all that. We going out to fancy restaurants. I'm dumb. I don't know nothing. I like steak. I'm a kid who likes steak. I'm in there ordering shit. I remember one time he looked at me, he like, damn, do you order according to the price on the menu or do you
right.
actually want what the fuck you order? I ain't know I had expensive taste because my mom used to indulge that shit, but now when I look as a man, look back at what he was doing, I gotta say kudos. It's like, yo, what the fuck? I'd have been like, no, nigga, get the fuck out of here. Nigga, you
Yeah,
better
you ain't
find,
getting no
you
goddamn.
better find some chicken,
Yeah,
nigga.
you better get this Alfredo. You
Yeah,
better
you
get this.
better French fries and chicken fingers, nigga. Fuck out of
Come
here.
on, man.
You know what I'm saying? But he held it down. So salute to that nigga Brad. R.I.P. to that nigga because he's no longer with us. But um, I look back and I'm like, yo, the nigga. Even though I didn't like a lot of shit that I felt like wasn't right at the time, like he held it down. So you know, in this day and age, man, that feminine narrative, we understand it, we give it credit, but it kind of worn kind of thin just by itself. Like shorty, like listen, niggas got a perspective too. That shit matters. Niggas is not all deadbeats and terrible ass niggas. Like yo, you know what I'm saying? That's a lot of what I wanted this our podcast to be about, like just our perspective. Cause now, like, look, when I met you, what you had your own family, right?
Was already starting on my own. Yep. I had
You
about
had you had two
two,
kids.
two in.
Uh
I was I mean, shit, two kids in, no spot to myself. Living with my
huh.
mom, you know, just trying to figure things out. I had a court situation, so jobs was pretty limited. You know what I'm saying? It was just pretty much average statistic is what I felt like. I mean, I managed to graduate high school, so that was a yippee, but wasn't scholarly, so wasn't really getting any like breaks to college. And then speaking to that, didn't even know where I would be going if I did, because certain dreams I had wasn't cultivated right enough for me to feel comfortable to, you know, ascertain it. You know what I'm saying? One of the things I wanted to do was be like a graphic designer. Requires art. Gotta be able to draw. At least a little bit. Didn't yeah, no. I can draw a good stick figure, but that's about it. So, just growing through that situation, the children obviously completely overlooked. No, nothing was ever invested to figure out what niggas could be good at. You know what my sister could be good at. We was just kind of left to sort of
Figure it out
hang
on your
hang for
own.
ourselves. Yeah, I mean, like we had a roof, we had clothes, we had food. We was sought after if we ain't come home and when the night lights came on, shit like that. But it wasn't
See,
nothing
that's
much
that's
extra.
that's the style of parenting that most of us deal with right now. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's minimalist. You know what I'm saying? Like, I keep this nigga alive. You know what I'm saying? Make sure don't nothing happen to them. Make sure they fed. But is you really investing? Is you? Cause me, and I've been like this. It's just a damn shame that my life experiences have taken the opportunity to really be the father that I wanted to be away from me. But I like to get into this. Like, what's my kid personality? Like, what this nigga got talents in? Let's encourage that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, really getting to know your kid and goddamn getting into the nuts and bolts of the parenting shit. It's not just about goddamn keeping the kid alive and feeding this motherfucker like he's a pet. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, I'm into like developing the motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like, and helping you figure out the quirks of your own self. You know what I'm saying? And that that part of it, funny enough, dudes are kind of more lean toward. You know what I'm saying? Like women do the basic comforting and all of that, but you know they just got a limit for how deep they gonna dive with that. Because dudes, just the way our minds work and shit like that, like this, you know, all the bullshit aside, it's like when it comes to like really scientific discoveries and figuring shit out about the world, who takes the front line? Yeah. Women have contributed plenty to that, not taking that away, but who's the front line on that? It's men. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So, getting back to me bringing it to you, when me meeting you, you having your own family, it's like I think some of that helped being able to make our connection back, because again, like you was going through certain things that made it a little bit easier for you to relate to me and certain shit that, you know what I'm saying, just shit working out the way that it did.
Yeah, my first reach out was about like 2020. I was a bit standoffish or whatnot. Um, I never really, like I think I said in the message, I never blamed you for anything that happened in my life. It was just more so wanting to know where the hell you been. And I think it was, yeah, I don't think I was told anything about you being in jail until it was you that said that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
for
don't,
better or for worse. I don't know if that's a good thing, a bad thing, or what, but like at the end of the day, man, you are my seed. Like you came from me, so at the end of it, ultimately, like regardless of what anybody's opinion of me might be, because at the end of the day, like once you, I said that a lot, but once you come, like the opinion is irrelevant because the opinion mattered when we was making you. You know what I'm saying? So again, regardless of anybody's opinion of a father of a child, like that's that child's father, and they need to know whatever they need to know about this man. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't change the fact that that's where they came from. You can be mad about it. You could wish you did something different. You could do whatever you want to do, but that's where that child came from. You know what I
I
mean?
mean, like we watch it in The Lion King where, Simba has this great pride because he knows who his father is. You know what I'm saying? He knows exactly who his father is. He knows the weight that he carries and the work that he does. So he has this pride that he goes amongst all the other animals like, yeah, my dad's king and I'm king. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So, you know,
Hmm.
they don't understand that not having that connection, it like it's almost like I don't know if you ever watched the Avatar, but the Avatar the Last Airbender. But like
Yeah, I seen that
basically it's
shit.
a generation of benders and they got, you know, a lifeline connection to each other. And in one of
It's
the
like a
series,
bloodline, right?
like a bloodline, yeah, they have a lifeline connection to each other where they can reach out in a certain state and gain information from each other and whatnot. All the past ones can speak to the present one and help him out with a problem that he might have. And it's like, and even in one of the most recent series they had, they set up a scenario where one of the avatars was cut off from that line. And, she was severely, affected by that, being that she couldn't kick ass no more. so so, that's just symbology for like you do gotta know where your father and even better your father's father came from, because that gives you a great understanding of the head that you have. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And that gives you even more drive to be like, yeah, they did it. I know I could do it. Like I could do it better, if anything. So,
Hmm.
you
Yeah,
know,
man. Would you say, I ask you this question, would you say that, like, encountering me gave, help give you, or add, not give you, because I'm sure you already had one, but did it add to your sense of identity?
yeah. I mean, I would say it definitely, if anything, gave me a sense of identity.
Yeah, so we back. We had a little bit of technical difficulties and shit. But
Yes, yes, indeed.
I we ended off. I was asking you, did you think that encountering me helped give you or gave you a sense of identity? And you were
Yes,
answering that.
right, right. Yes. So, to answer that, basically, yes, I feel like meeting you gave me a deeper understanding of myself, which helps create the confidence in one's self identity. You know what I'm saying? Self identity is just, it's always changing through the experience and whatnot. Um, Before you, it's like there was no foundation. So it's like just floating. You know what I'm saying? Gathering information, gathering experience to, you know, that creates who I am, but there was no foundation as like a springboard to sit on top of. So, uh, just to kind of like framework it, if I may say, it's like the inner workings of how I am, how I would think, and things I would think about, and why I would think about them. I would I couldn't find the relation in my stepfather as to those quirks. You know what I'm saying? The reason why I thought like that, and the reason why I would do certain things, and the way I just was. I didn't find no relation in him. So, that was part of the reason why I would say, going back in our earlier conversation, I never had no connection to him, because it was just like those habits and quirks. I never found them in them. Um, but like when we first had our deep conversation, you know, I was able to instantly find relation in certain thoughts and concepts of ways that you was thinking. I was instantly able to connect and see the similarities in our ways of thinking. That
Right.
that allowed me to just see how it, like I always was an intellectual. You know what I'm saying? Because like how you said your father was, and when you met him, that showed you like, yeah, you was always a thinker anyway. You was going to be a thinker. And I would say having the first conversation with you did the same thing. That gave me enough confidence to continue where I'm going and the things that I've been doing now. So I would say I definitely needed to meet you, and any, young man who hasn't met their father, if they met him, at least in a good light, had a great conversation with him, it would give them a stronger foundation for who they are, give them more confidence, and it would another thing, like it would just help you see where you could be at, where you're fitted in this whole, you know, structure of everything.
Right. Right. It helps you find your place in all of this because all of that has been, you know, where people think of their lives as just this thing that just happens in the universe, like this singular event separate from every other event. But It's not like it's the result of mad lives and countless decisions and lives lived before you, and your life only makes sense in the framework of your lineage.
Right.
You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? And people actually don't understand that. You know what I'm saying? It's something that I figured out, but it wasn't because anybody was that lives right now in today's society. They don't be giving a fuck about that shit. And I'm like, yo, that your life really don't make sense unless you know a little bit about what happened before you got here that led
Hmm.
to you being here. It really, I mean,
Like
so
you wouldn't know you come from a generation of thieves unless you knew the history
and
of
then you wondering why you got sticky ass fingers and you
you
just
know.
can't control yourself. Like if you and this is a interesting concept because it's like when you break out of the jail cell of the thinking that we got nowadays and just realize certain shit it just is what it is. Certain people are what they are. Certain things exist whether you like it or not. You
Hmm.
start to realize shit like that makes more sense. Like if you come from a line of thieves, you need to be taught by a thief. Like you need to be
Theo,
like
nigga.
you can't be a wolf that don't know how to be a wolf. Like you just can't do it. Like that's not good for you. Like, and that's some shit you be like, well, nobody likes thieves. Nobody wants you to be a thief. Yeah, I get it. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, getting back to what we really talking about, what I'm saying when I say that, that's like an extreme comparison. But at the same time, it's like, yo, if you can't be judging a father of a child whether a father is fit to be. Who the fuck are you? That's my child. That's it.
Yeah.
It don't matter whether you like it or not that this happens to be my child. Especially the mother. Least of all, the mother. Bitch, you helped me make this
You
move.
know me, man.
You you sat here and carried this nigga for 9 months for me, and now you trying to act like I ain't shit. Bitch, what are you talking about? What are you really saying to me right now?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, that part is a serious problem, even though I'm being funny and all of that. And motherfuckers could take it how they want to take it, how I said it, but you can't deny that fact. Like, yo, if you feel like you had a nigga is a piece of shit and you had a nigga child and the nigga was a piece of shit, well, guess what you got
Just
in front of
had.
you?
Had a little piece of shit. Congratulations.
And he need his daddy. So I
You
don't
need
know
his
what
daddy
you
now. You gotta put that little shit with the big
what the
shit.
fuck
Come
you
on.
gonna do, man? You gonna keep being in the way, or is you gonna get the fuck out the way, bitch? I don't know, like what? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it makes sense to me. It makes total sense to me.
Like and people got to think bigger than just they little. Like motherfuckers be forgetting you a mere mortal. You're a mere mortal.
Near
Okay?
immortal.
You're a mere mortal. That means you die. Your opinion ain't really that important. You know what I'm saying? You be talking about whether somebody's a fit father. Shut the fuck up, man. God gave you this child. God gave me this child. Like, you know what I mean? So, yeah, but that identity shit, that's a big one. That's kind of why I went a little hard right there. But like, yeah, we be. It don't matter what your opinion of somebody is. When you have a child, that's a child, and a child is bigger than you and your opinion. Like there's three people involved,
No, there's three
and
people.
and I'm 90% sure You remember Baby Boy and shit. If you ask a child who they want walking through the house butt naked, drinking up the last of the Kool-Aid in the house and shit like that, they gonna tell you daddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
My daddy.
My dad, yeah. Every day, twice on Sunday.
Twice on Sunday. So what you talking about? At that point, your opinion matters a lot less, and your personal freedom also matters a lot less too.
That's a key one, The
And that
sacrifice.
right that gets deep because you dealing with two adults and one child. Say that again. Two adults and one child. Two adults that are responsible for this one child. So now, right, your little dreams and aspirations and shit, you know what I'm saying? They become they I ain't gonna say they come secondary to everything, but they
But
start to take a little less priority, right? Because now you
yeah,
got this kid and you gotta take into account and and let's be honest, like yeah, you as a parent, you got to think for them and a lot, but at the same time, you kind of know, y'all, motherfuckers, they got mind of their own and an opinion and certain rights that you kind of are in trust to respect. You know what I'm saying? Whether
yep.
you like it or not, it's not just your toy,
They're not a toy, not a doll,
not a pet, none
not
of
a
that.
pet. That one.
So you can dress them up pretty and cute all the fuck you want, but if you're not doing what's in their best interest, and part of that is keeping a positive relationship with their father, regardless of what your personal opinion might be of this man, because you've already done the deed, right? You have responsibility as an adult. This kid, they didn't do nothing yet. They will, but they haven't yet.
I mean, yeah, they will, but they haven't. You gotta say that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, you gotta respect them,
gotta
and
be an
that's
adult. That's I
mhm.
think, that's the key word you keep leaning in
And if
on.
right, and if you're being adult, respect for the kid is gonna come naturally. But if you're being a kid, you know what I mean, you're not gonna do what you're supposed to do as far as respecting this kid's rights. You know what I'm saying? And part of their rights is unfettered access to both of their parents. You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially willing, present, and able motherfuckers.
Right. The ones who's definitely trying to be there, they just don't want to deal with you.
Right.
They
And if
just
they have terms, you have to acquiesce to their terms if they're fair. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. Like, you have to, because it's not nobody else's job to come and force an agreement between y'all. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
like we gotta, or at least one of the things I feel like we'll touch in the podcast and later episodes would be like the fiduciary obligation one and the next has to each other. People just walking around like they got this whole conversation. I'm the prize, man. Both the man and the woman going around saying that, and it's like we both got a obligation to one another. You know what I'm saying, to do right by each other
Right.
and in each other's best interest if we supposedly supposed to be spouses and working together.
Yeah, man. That whole shit. Yeah, we got we got a podcast coming up on that, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, uh at the end of the day, man, like you said, it's a fiduciary responsibility. It is one hand washes the other. Is different roles. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, my spin on it, my spin on that whole prize bullshit is fuck it. You right, bitch. You the prize. That means that I'm the champion, bitch. So how the fuck is you a prize if you treat me like a sucker, bitch? What that say about you? You giving up your treasure chest to a sucker. Fuck you. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, but listen, listen, bringing it back to the heart of what the whole thing is about, right? I
Right.
just want to kind of close out with a couple things for men that might be in a situation like we described. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
One of the key things that I would tell a lot of men with this is if you're trying to reconnect to a child, especially an adult child, any child, especially a boy or a girl whose sex has dropped by the time you're trying to reconnect with them, you know what I'm saying? You cannot come in there with that big bad I'm your daddy energy. Like that's ill advised. One thing that worked with me and both of my sons that I was away from when I was locked up is that I came in and I offered them friendship and understanding first and foremost. You know what I'm saying? And then guidance. You got to get in resonance with a motherfucker before you can start to guide them. You know what I'm saying? You have to get in resonance. You have to gain their trust. You have to let them know that I'm here without judgment first and foremost.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And the reason for that, especially in a situation like this, is because of the situation, you weren't there during the years where they were moldable. So when they grew up, you weren't their authority. You not their authority now. You know what I'm saying? Don't think just the fact that you they daddy by blood is about to change that. You just wasn't there. And that's a whole process. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
you got to
Yeah.
you got to come in with a different energy because what's lost is lost. You ain't gonna be able to get that back. It don't matter that you they baby. It don't matter that you remember them as a baby. You don't remember none of that shit. None of that shit matters. They an adult now. So that's one strong caution that I would give to older men, especially touching on what we touched on earlier with authority, older men, daddies not being there and all of that. Like, yeah, these kids is wary of us because of their mothers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
The disdain is there, so you got to move, carefully. You don't want to set the landmine off.
right, and you can't let that shit make you unsettled emotionally because they don't respect you and all of that. like you can't do that. Like you got to treat them like a kid that you just met. You know what I'm saying? But one that you have a special affection for and that you just trying to, get to know and then just let it grow from there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then
Don't don't come in with your opinions and shit, my nigga. Like you come out of prison and you find out your daughter's a whore and shit. She got an OnlyFans. Don't come in telling her about how she needs this and that.
War,
Like
man.
just get to know who she really is beyond all of that bullshit and just you know what I'm saying. See what can happen from there, bro. That's my advice.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's perfect. I like how you said the word process because some people may forget that the whole raising the child process is where the trust in the relationship is built for your child to, want to
Exactly.
listen to you. You know what I'm
Even
saying?
want to listen to your punk ass. Like, what you did for me? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be coming with value. And so you got to show them your value at that point. And you better have some, that too. Don't be an old fool coming to your to your kids trying to tell them that because you's a sucker. Get out of here, nigga. I mean, hard, but it's true. But that's a touchy one because that's a matter of opinion, and a lot of these kids is egotistical as hell and wouldn't understand the wisdom anyway.
Upstairs.
Ah, she in the studio.
Yeah, the little shrimp and came down.
Nah, that's all right, cause that's our time, really, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got anything you want to close with?
No, I think you really hit it on it. And my little 2 cents was good enough. I think the fathers and the sons should, they'll have a nice, good bit of information to walk away with, some resonate with too.
That's what's up, yo. Hey, yo, man, it was dope. We gonna do it again. Hey, yo,
Yes,
all y'all out there. I'm Heru, the first son.
it's
This
not
is the
rigged.
son. That's what it is, man. Father, son, trolley ghost, man. We out.
We
Period.
out. Stay safe. Peace.